We have started the session at 5:30. Hopefully, we'll be doing the session for about 1 hour. This is for audience information. You can type in your questions in the Q&A section of the session, and we should be addressing as much as possible them in the last 15 minutes of the session. At the very beginning, I would like to take your permission, Venkat sir. Can I just go ahead and introduce you to the audience, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Venkat Satish with us. He is a part of the Rediff team and has 19 years of experience in information technology. He's been a part of the core Rediff team for the past 13 years and handled multiple projects. Having a flair for information security, he started implementing security in the projects, which all of us know is the need of the hour nowadays. Currently, he is heading information security in Rediff.com and playing a crucial role in implementing and practicing information security, including privacy, risk, and analysis. He has attended many cybersecurity conferences, nationally and internationally, and was also a speaker in many of such conferences. He has been awarded with a lot of awards also from the CISO platform. He has also received CISO of the Year award and received an award in data security category in the Data Center Summit and Awards 2018. Currently, he's also the member of the academic board for Wallinker's e-business PGDM course. I would like to thank you, sir, for taking out time out of your busy schedule to be with us and give us some enlightenment on the DMARC topic of the technology side. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shimoni. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction you gave me. And hello, everyone. There are a lot of familiar names which I am seeing in the panel, in the attendees list. I hope I won't be boring you today, and I'll be giving you all the necessary gyan for you to take today in implementing DMARC and be safe and secure, not only you, but for your customers also. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about DMARC, what is DMARC and how to implement it. So before talking about DMARC, let me first tell you what phishing is, because DMARC is all about how to stop phishing and spoof mail. So I think I know most of you know what phishing is, but for the benefit of others who doesn't, just telling what phishing is. So phishing is a technique used by cyber criminals to send genuine looking emails and make the user take actions. So these actions can be reply in personal information or clicking the link in the email and doing some financial transactions, etc. So I'm going to give you some statistics around the cyber attacks involving email. So, you know, more than 90% of any targeted attacks in the world use spear phishing in the initial phase to gain entry to the organization's network. You see, 90% of the attacks started by spear phishing. So this is a very, very dangerous number, what you're seeing here. And you need to be very careful here. So there's another statistics. In 2018, phishing URLs in the emails detected to be more than 269% than in the previous year of 2017. So the links what are being shared in the emails, it is being detected as phishing links. Okay, so and it is 269% more. So year on year it is growing. So now in 2020 maybe it is grown to 1000%. Who knows? And 1/3 of the data breaches that happened in 2018 involved phishing attacks. Just look at this number. 1/3 of any data breach happened in 2018 involved phishing attacks. So that is 2018. And again, as I'm telling, coming to 2020, this figure may have been increased. And we all know about the dreaded ransomware attacks that took place. There was there is NotPetya ransomware, and Musk lost the business of about 200 million to 300 million because of the ransomware which is received in an email. So the employee in Ukraine, he sat and he got an email, he clicked on the link and the malware got downloaded and it shut down entire Musk operations worldwide. So you can remember that in GNPT also, uh, it is the operations were stopped. Business email compromise or CEO fraud saw losses about $676 million. So this is a very huge amount. So now I'll talk what is DMARC. But I think there is some hand raised by someone. You got any questions?
So we can address the questions and raised hands by the end of the session. You can continue your presentation, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now let's come to DMARC. So what is DMARC? So DMARC is acronym for domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. Okay. So you can see it is authentication, reporting. There is something called as reporting here, and there is something called as conformance over here. So what it is? It is an email validation system designed to detect and prevent spoof emails. It also can help combat phishing and thus protect your reputation. And it works on a framework that works on top of SPF sender policy framework and domain keys identifiable mail DKIM. So DMARC is not just for outbound emails, but it is also for inbound emails. Many organizations think that DMARC should be implemented only for outbound emails. And if they have on-prem email setups, they're not worried about implementing DMARC for their inbound emails. Okay, so this is the biggest myth people are having. So they need to clear this thing. So let's take a look at this image. I know it has been many months for us when we last visited an airport, but still we can recognize this image, right? So there is a CF person standing at the gate of the airport. Now what is he doing? So he is stopping the person who is trying to enter and asking for his identification and ticket or boarding pass. Now what he will do is he will try to match both. If the name on the boarding pass is matched on the name on the identification, and if it's the person who is saying who is a person, then he will allow him to go inside the airport. But what if it doesn't match? He will not allow, or he may take him to a police station and file a case against him. So here we know, okay, if there is someone who is trying to spoof as someone and trying to gain entry, there is a say a person who is stopping at the gate itself and not allowing him to enter. But for emails, even though the email receivers know that it is a spoof mail, they are not stopping and allowing it to be delivered in inbox or maybe some other folder like bulk or spam or junk folder. Why? Because when email system has been designed, they have not taken security into consideration. So they're taught, okay, they are not taught about spoofing and phishing and sending of malware through email. So to handle this came DMARC. So I will explain more in coming slides. So now, as I was telling, why DMARC? So email is very easy to spoof. Users can't tell a real message from a fake message. Someone can send a fake message and users can all fall prey to that thing. There are a lot of phishing cases. Organizations don't know if spoof mails are sent on their behalf. So they can be a bank, abcbank.com, and there are spoof mails which are being sent on their behalf to their customers. Organization doesn't know if someone is sending a spoof mail. So that is why DMARC is required. Okay, and last but least, DMARC addresses the issues helping email senders and receivers work together to better secure emails, protecting users and brands from painfully costly abuse. Okay, so these are some of the reasons why we require DMARC. So now we are talking about DMARC. Let me make you understand what DMARC doesn't offer. Okay, so if DMARC is implemented on a domain example.com, then it will not work on domain example.net. So DMARC is brand specific, sorry, domain specific. So if DMARC is implemented on the domain used to send email and not on the domain used for users to access the website, then that website domain address will not have domain protection against impersonation. So I will take an example. Again, abcbank.com. So this is the domain name which users are using to log in to their personal banking. So they go to abcbank.com and then log in. But what is happening is this bank is sending mailers to them from a different domain, abcbank.net. Okay, you see the TLD is earlier it is bank.com, but it is sending mails from .net. So if DMARC is enabled on abcbank.com, it will not work on abcbank.net. The same example I have given about example.com. If DMARC is implemented on example.com, it will not work on example.net. Again, if DMARC is implemented on example.com, it will not work on similar looking websites, so domain names. You see here, I given an example, and display name abuse. So if someone is trying to change the display name, so the display name, say my email ID is venkatas@com, but in the display name it is Venkatas Satish Kuttula. But if someone is changing the display name itself to abcbank.com, so maybe netbanking@abcbank.com, then DMARC will not protect from that. So now let me tell you how DMARC works. Okay, so to pass DMARC, a message must pass SPF authentication and SPF alignment, and or DMARC authentication and DMARC alignment. So I will talk about what is SPF alignment and DMARC alignment in the later stages. But a message will fail if fail DMARC if message fails both SPF alignment and DKIM. So for DMARC to work, the mail has to align at least SPF or DKIM. But if both doesn't align, then the message will fail. So what will happen if the message fails? So there are some policies which the domain can put. What should the email receivers do with the messages that fail DMARC? So first policy is none. Okay. So if the DMARC policy is none, then the receiving email providers will not take any actions on the emails that fail DMARC. So they can continue to deliver it into inbox or spam or bulk folder, whatever logics they are using earlier. And they will also send reports to the email addresses given in the RUF and RUA parameters. So why this none is required? So this is to get reports and verify if all your email servers and systems are signing outgoing emails with DKIM keys, and the IP addresses of these systems are present in the SPF records. So I will give an example, again coming to abcbank.com. abcbank.com can have different vendors, or they can have different systems which can send out emails on their behalf. So they can be OTP mailers which can send it. It can be given to some third-party vendor. There can be some mailers which can be sent, promotional mailers, which can where they can use providers like MailChimp to send on their behalf, or they can send monthly your statements, account statements. So there are different types of systems right here, and it may be difficult for the system administrator or email administrator to know which all systems are sending these emails out to the customers. So once he implements DMARC and puts the policy as none, he can use DMARC analyzer to see from where those emails are going and if those emails are actually having DCAM signed or not. So he can get a list of IP addresses and then he can check with the teams and then get those IP addresses added in SPF records. Or if there is no DCAM signature, then he can give the private key for the DCAM sign and ask them to sign it on their behalf. Okay, so now this is the first step. Now, the second policy is quarantine. So if the DMARC policy is quarantine, then the receiving email providers will place the email that failed DMARC in the bulk or junk or spam folder, and they will not deliver it in the inbox. Again, reports are sent to the email addresses given. So why this policy is required? It is required that maybe you are not 100% sure that you got all the list of your servers which are sending out emails. So what you do is you put those you ask the email provider to put those emails in the junk folder, but don't reject them. So now once you know you have added all your email server IP addresses in SPF, and all your mail servers are signing with DCAM, then what you do is you put the policy in reject. So if the DMARC policy in reject, then the receiving email provider will bounce the email that failed DMARC. So if the email fails DMARC, then he will bounce it. He will not deliver it to any inbox or spam or junk or anywhere in the user's mailbox. But as I again say, reports will be sent to the addresses given in REF and RUA addresses which are given. So let me take a case study here. Couple of days ago, I got a query by someone saying that a very famous school in Mumbai, parents have received a spoof mail saying that schools, there won't be any online schools, and there is no need for the parents to pay any fees till September. Now, some parents approach the bank and they are school, and they sought the clarification, and school said that they have not sent any mails, such mails. So upon investigation, it was found that the mails were delivered in the bulk folder, and one parent noticed that it is in the bulk folder, and he said to his child, and he went and asked all his friends to, all his schoolmates to see in the bulk folder of there, and they all found out that email there. So what happened is the school, even though implemented DMARC, they set the policy as quarantine, and they thought, okay, we have done our work. We set our policy as quarantine. It means the mail will not go into the inbox, and if it goes to the bulk, then the users will know that it is a spam, and they will not take any action. But there are a lot of false positives which allow genuine mails to land in spam, and many users take action on the mails which are received in the spam folder. So what I'm trying to say is, if we want to implement DMARC properly, then you need to take the policy to reject all the way, not stop at none or quarantine. So I'll give another example. So this is an analogy what I give. There is an ATM center which is seeing some kind of thefts, and they were asked to install CCTV, and but still there are thefts and they couldn't identify the culprit. So the investigator asked, okay, I asked you to install CCTV, what you have done? So the person said, okay, I installed CCTV, but it is not plugged in. You have not asked me to plug in. It doesn't work, right? So if you're installing CCTV, then you need to plug it in and you need to record the videos. That is analogy for policy is none. Now let's come to the quarantine. Now the videos are being shot, but they are not check the videos. So then that means the policy is in quarantine mode, even though it is there, but they're not checking and they're not identifying or catching the culprit. So if you see proper investigation, set up CCTV, you will check the videos and then catch the culprit, then it's a full process, right? So same in the DMARC. If you are implementing DMARC, there are many banks and many organizations in our country. They just implemented DMARC for the sake of implementation, and they put the DMARC policy as none, which means installing CCTV but are not plugged in. Some have taken pain to go to quarantine, but still it will not stop. What you need to do is you need to take it all the way to the reject. So here is a flow chart of how DMARC works. There's a mail which is sent by the sending email server, and the from address is someone at example.com. So now how the receiving email server looks at the DMARC. So what the receiving email server does is it has to see whether DKIM is passed or SPF is passed. So if you can see in the left side, it is extracting DKIM signature from the email header and it is getting the domain. So D equal to example.com. And it is trying to see what is the domain from the from address in the email domain. Is it same example.com, example.com? If it matches, then it is DKIM. If it is matters, then it checks if it is the DKIM is passing. It will get the DKIM public key from the DNS, and it will see if it is matching or not. If it is all it is done, it is aligned with DKIM, or else it is not aligned with DKIM. Now same with the SPF. If you come to the right hand side, again it is extracting the return path address from domain email and getting the domain. It is example.com and from is example.com. So if it matches, then okay, it goes and it checks if it is passing SPF. If it yes, it is aligned, SPF aligned, or not, if it is not aligned by SPF. So as I told earlier, for DMARC to pass, it has to either align with DKIM or SPF. It needs at least one identifier to see that it is actually coming from the domain which it is saying. If it passes either of them, then it passes DMARC, or else it fails and it will take any action based on the policy given in the DMARC record. So I was talking about SPF, right? So let me give you what SPF is. I will I will stop here and see if there are any questions here. So I have a question from Dreamsoft. If my domain is used to spoof or send mails from Outlook to other users in Gmail or Rediff, if you have DMARC, will it be protected? Okay, so Dreamsoft, if you have implemented DMARC and you have taken your policy till reject, and someone is trying to spoof users in Gmail or Rediff, you know, many email providers like Rediff, Gmail, O365, Yahoo, we are honoring DMARC for inbound mails, which means if we receive any emails, we will check if it is passing DMARC or not. If it passes, then we deliver the mail, or else we simply bounce the mail or quarantine it, or do any not take any action based on the policy which is set in the domain. So coming to your question, if you have DMARC policy and setting as reject, then if someone is trying to spoof as you to the users of Gmail and Rediff, we will block it and it will not go. Okay, there's another question.
Sir, there's one question in the chat.
Okay.
From Ken. Ideally, Ken, you should, I would request you to post it on the Q&A section. However, here goes the question, sir. Does DMARC need to be implemented by the email receiver also to check if the sender has sent a DMARC enabled email?
Okay, does DMARC need to be implemented by the email receiver also to check if the sender set it? Yes, as I told earlier, email providers like Yahoo, Gmail, Rediff.com, O365, we are already checking DMARC for inbound emails. And if there are any organizations who are having, say, on email systems, then they need to enable DMARC for the inbound. And there are some small players, cloud email providers, who are not implementing DMARC for the inbound. So if you are hosted at any of them, then you need to go and ask them to implement DMARC. So I hope I answered this question.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. Ken, I hope you got your answer. If you have any more queries, please type in the Q&A section. Sir, please continue.
There's one more question. Can we identify the mail domains and server in Gmail by clicking show original? So how it is more advanced and different and how efficient? So I'm not able to understand this question. So I want ask Rahul Dhawan to again be more specific here. Okay, so let us continue. Someone asked me to be in this flowchart diagram. I'm in the flowchart diagram. Can I continue now?
Yes, please, sir. Please.
Yeah. So now I was talking about SPF and DKIM in my earlier slides, and I want to know what I want you to tell what SPF is and DKIM is and how to enable these. So SPF is Sender Policy Framework, and it is first mentioned in 2000. Now SPF record in the DNS has a list of IP addresses in which the domain or email administrator is authorized. Okay, I will explain this one. So take example of Rediff.com. So Rediff.com has a set of IP addresses which we know we are using to send out emails from. And if there is any IP address, if there is any mail which is going outside from this IP address, then it doesn't belong to us. So what we have done is in the SPF record, we have added these IP addresses and we put in the DNS record of Rediff.com. So SPF can be used to verify if the mail is sent from a particular domain or not. So again, in the from address, we take the domain, we query the SPF DNS of the domain name and get the IP addresses and match if it is received from the same domain IP address or not. So this is what we do. Now, how to implement SPF? So first, what you need to do is gather all the IP addresses that are used to send email. So you may be having, as I again telling, there may be different systems which are being used to send emails out. Maybe it is being sent from MailChimp, or it is sent from your own subnets. So you need to gather all the IP addresses, and also you need to make a list of all sending domains and create a SPF record. So example, in the first example, v equal to SPF1, so v equal to version, so it is SPF1, and then individual IP addresses are given. So IP4, 1.2.3.4, and second IP is IP4, 2.3.4.5. But if you have a third party which is used to send out emails on your behalf, again, as I'm taking the example of MailChimp, then you can include that domain in your SPF. So here in the second example, you see there's an include and there's thirdparty.com. So this can be MailChimp.com or whatever, so that the receiving email can go and include the IP addresses from the SPF record for the domain also and add it to the list. So then now finally you publish SPF to DNS. Now coming to DKIM. DKIM is nothing but domain keys identified mail. So in DKIM, there is a digital signature linked to the domain name, which is affixed to each outgoing email message. So there's a nothing but there's a digital signature which is there with your in the header of each and every email which is being sent out. So the recipient system will verify this by looking up the sender's public key published in the DNS. So what the receiving receiver will do, he will go to the DNS of that domain in the from address, get the public key which is published in the DNS, and he will verify it. If it verifies, then the email is DKIM. So a valid signature also guarantees that some part of your email has not been modified since the signature was affixed. So DKIM helps you to see if there is any modification to your mail. So you know, okay, a mail is being originated from an IP address, but there are chances that the mail can be tampered with and it can be modified. So something can be affixed to your mail. But with DKIM, if something is affixed, then the signature will change. So this is used to see if there is any modification happened to your email or not. So DKIM signatures are not visible to end users and are affixed or verified by the infrastructure rather than the message authors and receivers. So user doesn't know what is happening on the DKIM, but email senders affix and email receivers verify this thing. So how to implement DKIM? So again, identify all your email sending servers and systems, even third-party ones. Install and configure DKIM on your email servers. So if the email server doesn't have any DKIM configured, then you need to install it. And the software list can be obtained from the site dkim.org. Then what you do is you create a public and private key pair. So you go to the site dkimco.org/tools. There you need to give your domain name, and it will generate a public key and a private key. So you need to use those things. Now you need to publish this public key in the DNS. So this is how a public key looks like. There's a demo public key which I'm giving. So it got version v equal to DKIM1. There's a signature and domain name. Everything is there in that. Now configure email servers including third-party services with private key. So this is the public key which you are publishing in the DNS, but you take your private key and you need to configure in your email servers so that every outgoing mails should be signed with that private key. So this is how you implement DKIM. Now coming back to DMARC, this is how the DMARC, SPF and DKIM records look like. So this is sample settings for rediff.com. So DMARC record looks like this. V equal to DMARC1. The policy is reject. And RU and RUF are the email addresses where you get aggregate reports and forensic reports. So as I told earlier, R in DMARC stands for reporting. So you need to have reports. Now coming to SPF. So again, V equal to SPF1, and we are having IP4, and we are having subnets over here. You can see the subnets, and then we are also having SPF to another domain, rediffmailpro.com. So it is going to that domain also. And finally, the DKIM public key. Here's the public key of the DKIM. Okay. Now we'll come to a sample DMARC record. But before that, let me go and see if there are any open questions. Okay, there's again a question from Dreamsoft. Sometimes the marketing emails sent from external domains like MailChimp or marketing domain Amazon are allowed to our domain. But if a talker also had registered domain on marketing domain like MailChimp, the DMARC and SPF will fail as the IP is allowed this to out domain. How to stop such attackers? Okay, this is a very good question. Uh, I think SPF DMARC will not work if uh, if the attacker is using third-party applications like Mailchimp. But I don't think they will allow you to configure that email domain name, because you need to register using the domain name, and there are some checks and balances, right? If you are trying to log in using a bank's name, they will send an email address for verification, and it is difficult for you to register to these third parties using their domain names. So there's another question: how do I know if SPF is enabled? Okay, I will stop this sharing for some time, and I'll go to some tools.
By then, I would just like to mention Rahul Dhawan in the audience. You had a question. Venkat sir mentioned that you need to have more clarity on the question. He couldn't understand your question. Could you please write it again with slight explanation? What are you looking at, maybe? Rahul Dhawan, this was for you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready. So I came to our site businessemail.rediff.com, where we have these amazing tools: DMARC Analyzer, SPF Analyzer, and DCAM Analyzer. So let's go to DMARC Analyzer, because this question is asked: how do we know if DMARC SPF is enabled or not? So you need to go to a site, and you need to enter the domain for which you want to see the SPF records. So I'm putting my domain, and you see these are the records in the SPF. Okay, and I'll also show DMARC Analyzer. So this is to see if you have properly enabled DMARC in your DNS settings or not. Okay, you can see that DNS record. So V equal to DMARC 1, the policy is reject, and RUA is where you get your aggregate reports. So we get it in this email ID, and RUF is for forensic reports. Again, we get it in the same email ID. So this is how you check if you have properly implemented DMARC or DCAM, SPF. So there is also a DCAM analyzer here. So for DCAM analyzer, there is something called as DCAM selector. So you need to know what is the selector you are using when you are putting the DCAM signatures in your DNS, and you need to use that thing. So again, it is the same. You need to enter the domain name. You need to specify what is the selector you are using, and then check it up whether you have implemented DCAM properly or not. Okay. So I'm going back to the. Okay. So this is a sample DMARC record where you see V equal to DMARC 1. So it is version. So DMARC 1 currently it is there. And P is policy. In the sample record, we are having the policies reject, and percentage, PCT is percentage. It is for how much percentage of mails you want your the receiver to implement DMARC checks on. Okay, again, that PCT is used in initial stages, but at the end you need to use it 100%. And RUA and RUF. So RUF is a reporting URI for forensic reports, and RUA is for aggregate reports. P equal to policy for the organizational domain. So if the domain is abcbank.com, then if P is the policy which will apply on abcbank.com. And there's another tag SP. So it is the policy for subdomains of the organization domain. So if there is another subdomain for the bank abc.com, say mail.abcbank.com, and if mails are being sent out to that from that subdomain, and if you want the DMARC policy to apply to that subdomain, then we will use SP. So SP equal to same. It can be none, quarantine, or reject. And there are other tags which are there. So percentage is here, RUF and RUI I already said, and P equal to, it will be none, quarantine, and reject. So coming back to the biggest myth I've been telling again and again. So I asked some people, some CISOs of bank, and said, okay, you have implemented DMARC for your outbound mails, but when I checked, you have not implemented DMARC for your inbound mails, which means I can send spoof mails to the bank employees. Okay, so there are the core jewels inside, crown jewels are inside the bank. So if I can fish a bank employee who's having a core access to core banking system, then I can be inside the banking system and do whatever I want. And they are telling, okay, if we implement DMARC for inbound mails, we will not receive important emails. So this is what they have. And what I'm telling is, DMARC will only stop emails if either SPF fails or DKIM fails, and if someone is trying to spoof. If someone is not trying to spoof, then you will definitely will receive those mails. There's no need for you to worry that you will not get any important mails. So now these are some of the steps for a sender to deploy DMARC. So first one is to deploy DKIM and SPF. Second, ensure that your mailers are correctly aligned the appropriate identifiers, as I told, SPF identifier and DKIM identifier. Then you need to publish your DMARC record. So with none flag for the policy with request to data reports. Next, you analyze the data and modify your mail streams as appropriate. So if, again, I'm telling, if there are some, you missed some IP addresses, then you can add, and then you can modify your policy from none to quarantine to reject as you gain experience. So last, you monitor. Once you are in a reject mode, then you can monitor the DMARC records and see if there are any new mailer systems which are being added, or you can also see if there are someone who is spoofing on your behalf. So if you see there are a lot of spoof mails which are being sent out, then you can take the IP address and then you can either complain to a cyber cell or do anything. So finally, add, again, it's a circle. If there are any new systems which you are adding, you add those IP addresses in SPF and DKIM signature in a mailer system. So this is the steps for implementing DMARC. Now I was talking about DMARC panel, right? DMARC analyzer, where you get to see those reports. So this is the DMARC analyzer panel, which is developed by Rediff.com, and this is the sample screenshot for the domain Rediff.com. So this is the summary screen which looks like, and Rediff.com domain is not used for sending any emails. That is why you see the fail percentage is very high, but there are some 0.25 mails which are passed. Why? Because we used it for testing, and out of 99.74, SPF totally failed are 99.65%. SPF 5 passed is 0.25, and SPF passed but not aligned is 0.08. And the last one is DKIM verification. Again, failed, passed, and passed, it is being shown. So this is your executive summary panel. And next panel is IP diagnostics. So here you can see list of IP addresses and number of times it has been reported and number of mails it is being reported. So first IP is 103.248 blah, blah, and it is being reported 7 times, and there it is reported for 124 mails. It is telling 124 mails have been sent from this domain. So you can see the number of emails which are being sent from these IP addresses, and they are being spoofed. So if I dig deeper into the IP address, I can see who is reporting this IP address. So Google is telling that on November 9th, it got a mail Shaznam is telling again it is got a mail on November 9th. Google again is telling it got mail on 8765. And these mails are failing DMARC, DKM, and SPF. And if you see in the right hand corner in the headers, this is where you see your forensic reports. So in the forensic report, we get who is the sender from where he's trying to spoof. So ABC at XYZ at abcbank.com. If someone is trying to spoof from that email address, then we'll come to know about that email address in the envelope from, and to whom he is trying to send a spoof mail. So because Google is reporting, let's say, assume that he's trying to spoof a Gmail user, Venkat at gmail.com. Then it will come envelope 2 is Venkat at gmail.com. So we know from xy at abc.com, someone is trying to send a spoof mail to Venkat at gmail.com. So we can send an email and tell them, okay, someone is trying to spoof on behalf of our bank, so please be careful. And this is the report, so you can give that date. So this report is for last 7 days, and you can also search on the IP. You can do an IP lookup, and it is telling what is happening. DMARC is failing, DKM alignment failed, SPF failed, SMA alignment failed. And finally, in that dashboard, you can see the DMARC panel, which will show what are the current policies for this domain. So I was showing you right earlier, you go to our site, enter your domain name for the SPF records to see what is the SPF record. You go to DMARC analyzer to see what is the DMARC record. That these all three will be shown in this panel. So now I've concluded my presentation on DMARC, and I hope you all understood. If not, we are now open for questions.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I believe there are about 13 questions. So shall we move on to the questions, sir?
Yes, please. Let's the questions. Yeah.
Okay. So our first question I see is from Shubhendu. It says, what does forwarding means within DMARC, and how to interpret DMARC complaint?
So I think forwarding means if a mail is forwarded from one person to another person, or if it is set as auto forward, then DMARC will not work, because SPF will fail in that case, and it will take the forwarder's email address. So it will if there are auto forwarders, then DMARC will not pass. For that, there is a new technology which is coming up, which is called as ARC, and we are also working on implementing ARC. There's a couple of email providers who already implemented ARC, so it is in development. Can you have the next question, please?
Okay. So thank you so much, sir. The next question I think we'll take from Sumit. It says, what will happen if we set up a rogue DHCP server between the victim and an attacker? My question is that, is it possible to bypass those?
Rogue DHCP server. I'm not fully able to understand what you are trying to say. DHCP server is assigned to give IP addresses to the machines. So I'm not trying to correlate how it will be helpful in sending out emails. Okay, so.
Okay, maybe Sumit, what you can do is you can write to us on our social media platforms, and we will forward it to Venkat sir, and he can answer it, and we'll let you know what the answer could be. All right, sir. And there's another question from Vaishnavi Vaishnav. It says, how to determine why the sender policy framework spam filter blocked or allowed a message? How to determine why the sender policy framework spam filter blocked or allowed a message?
Okay, coming to SPF. as I told earlier, SPF is to check if the email is being sent from the IP addresses which are there in the DNS record. And if they are not present in the list of SPF records, then SPF will not fail. So you can go to the headers and it will see ki SPF failed or passed, and it will say the reason why it is failed or passed. Because if the email IP address is not present in the SPF record, then it is failed or else it is passed. So these can be viewed in the email headers.
Great. So next question is from Junaid Sheikh. He asks, how much time does it take to activate DMARC on the domain?
Okay, so DMARC activation, as I told in my earlier slides, DMARC is just an implementation of, setting up the DMARC record in your DNS records. But actually, DMARC is a journey from going from none policy to quarantine to reject. So if you have to implement DMARC wholly, then it can take months. As I told earlier, there can be some banking systems which will send emails only in a month. So if you have to cover and see if you are catching those IP addresses, then you need to wait for the time and see in your analyzer if they are failing or not. So it can take maybe a month, or if a banking system is sending quarterly statements, then you need to wait for quarter to see if they are sending it properly or not. So it will take time. There are some banks who implemented DMARC from none to reject, and they took around 1 year to implement. So there's a big bank in Mumbai. They took 1 year, but that entire thing depends upon your setup, how you are having your email setup, and how aggressively you are checking your DMARC reports, and how aggressively you are changing your SPF and DKIM signature. So if you don't have any complex email system, then you can implement DMARC from none to quarantine to reject maybe in a couple of weeks, or maybe in a couple of days. If you are having only one standalone server and you are having a SPF and DKIM already done, then it's 1 day for you to change, put the DMARC settings.
All right, so I guess this answers quite a few questions when they ask, how to move from quarantine to reject to null to quarantine to reject. I think that answers quite a few questions.
Yes.
We'll take just a couple of more questions, sir, and then we'll request the audience to send in their questions to our social media so that we can forward it to you and have the answers to them.
Okay.
So Dreamsoft asks, sometime mail sent by script directly don't have SPF and DMARC headers. How them?
Okay, so SPF is nothing to do with scripts. It has to do from where this email is being sent, from which server it is being sent. And again, DMARC has nothing to do with headers. It is again it is on the what is the DNS entry and the policy you set in the DNS. So if I have a server and if I added that server IP address in my SPF records, and if I'm sending out a mail from that server, and even if I'm not signing it with DKIM's signature, that will be treated as DMARC passed, because if it will pass my SPF, because I am sending it from the same IP address which is in the SPF record. So it has nothing to do with headers for SPF and DMARC.
Okay, thank you, sir. Our last question for the evening is from Kiran. She asks, what kind of report CISO should look from DMARC perspective to be on top of these threats?
So as I showed in my slide, there is an executive summary report. So a CISO can look into the executive summary report and see if there are any spoof mails which are being sent, and if the pass percentage is good, 90% or more, then he can be happy. But if the spoofs are growing, then then there's a good fair chance that his customers are being sent a spoof mail, and these people may not stop with sending spoof mails by the same exact bank domain, but they may change the domain name, say bank.com to say bark.com, so abcbark.com, and send. So it will give a perspective that yes, someone is trying to spoof, and then you can create awareness amongst your customers, send them mails and communicate with them, saying that you can give all teachings on how to detect spoof mails to them. I hope I answered this question.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for your insight into this field. I hope that our audience has gained a lot of knowledge. Just to let all of you know that we have recorded this session and we'll be putting it on our social media platforms also for you to refer in the future if you would like to. And also, if you want, you can write to us your queries which goes unanswered to us. We can forward it to Venkat sir, right, Venkat sir, and then sir can answer it and we'll forward it to you as well.
Yep.
Reply you. Right. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. It was indeed a pleasure to have you with us. We might do such more sessions in the future and maybe have some other topic taken up. Right, sir?
Yes. I'm always there. And thanks for inviting me, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great evening.
Same.
Have a great evening, dear audience. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.